everyone. Could I get you to come and take your places very quickly as we begin our final panel discussion? Thank you.
Hello. Yes, so if people can just take your seats as quickly as possible so that we can start the next session. Yeah, I did. Yeah. I used most of the questions. Yeah. So if we can just take our seats. It's working.
Okay, but if you prefer to sit down. So if you prefer to sit down,
but you need that to pass around. Yeah, I think
so
I'll speak from that subject.
we need Daniel.
I need Daniel, yeah, exactly.
Could everyone at the back of the cathedral please take your seats as soon as possible so that we can start the final panel? Thank you very much.
Right, so I would just like to welcome you all to this kind of final session. There are quite a few other things I'll be having afterwards, but this is the session where we try to bring things together. So very quickly to say that my name is Chigo Chike. I am the Archdeacon of Lewisham and Greenwich, and I'm going to be forming this panel with Mark Eminson, who is from the Kingston Episcopal Area Justice Group, and Daniel Eshun, who is a chaplain at Whitelands College at the University of Roehampton. I just want to say a few words about how we hope this session is going to work. Our main goal is going to be to actually create a space where you will be able to bring something of your own thoughts and your reflections. So that's the principal thing that we want to achieve. But we want to do this in the kind of spirit of looking forward. So if you think about all the things that have happened today and all that you have heard, if you can just begin to think about how do you or how do we take that forward. There are one or two questions that I'm just going to read out, which might help you in your thinking. For example, how do we not stall at truth-telling and lament and move people to repair? How can we carry on the story in a way that is not just about lamenting, but actually moves on to repair? Another question, how do we start to hear the voices of those who have been harmed and give them power to shape the repair process? And just the third and last question, what does healing look like in the church? Who do we need to be involved in this work? So if you just begin to sort of think about those in the context of some of what you have heard today so far, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my fellow panelists to come and just say a few words, beginning with Mark.
Thank you, Archdeacon Chigor. Yes, I had the privilege this afternoon of being in the Kingston and the Croydon sessions, like many of you here will have done those as well, and being fascinated and kind of horrified, though not surprised, by turns at the sort of the telling of the history in our sacred spaces. But I also came away to try and look forward, as Archdeacon Chigor was saying, and to shamelessly but therefore footnote him, or Father Michael Walcott gave a lovely phrase just in our previous session in Croydon about psychological balance. That was a phrase that really resonated, psychological balance. So often in our sacred spaces, it's the winners of history, it's the powerful, those who have done well in this world's terms and at the expense of others, the prophets of African chattel slavery writ large and kind of fixed and etched in stone, and all kinds of other traces in who we have been. But that phrase of psychological balance, bringing to bear another story and perhaps shining the light in those different directions, the untold stories, the commissioning of more representative works of art in our sacred spaces, the use of liturgy from the global church, which of course is represented in our own churches and parishes and communities here in our gloriously diverse Diocese of Southwark. So thank you, Father Michael, for giving me that phrase. Psychological balance could be part of what moves us forward in our holy spaces. Thank you. Daniel.
Well, thank you for coming. The church has a sacramental ministry, and history sometimes can become a form of sacrament, and I want us to think about this very, very seriously. That whatever truths that we are telling ourselves, true to what ends, what do we want to get out of it? And as we will do later on through our worship, I just want to give 3 things for our reflection. That if the sacred space that we want to tell our stories has any function at all, it is a sacramental space where healing, reconciliation, forgiveness is being sought. So we are telling our stories. We are pursuing the truth. Sometimes truth can be very painful. Sometimes truth can be hurting. But let us remember that as people of God, we tell truth so that we can sacramentally be healed. And that is what this section is for. Secondly, increasingly within academic discourse, a term has been coined called epistemology of ignorance. And epistemology of ignorance goes like this, that now that you have been exposed to truth, you don't pretend that you don't know the truth. Or epistemology of ignorance also manifests itself when you deliberately decide not to pursue knowledge that liberates you, or when people tend to leave you in ignorance. And today, through this gathering, I think a little bit of our epistemology of ignorance has been tackled. And my prayer and hope for each one of us is that now that we have been exposed to this information, what do we want to get out of it? What do we want to do with it? And lastly, I want to appeal to each one of us through our interaction later on, that let us engage with intergenerational trauma. Trauma is something that sometimes we sweep under the carpet. But what has not been named cannot be tamed. Until we name our own trauma and intergenerational trauma, I don't think that the sacred space, which should be a sacramental space for healing, could achieve its effect. So I look forward to the questions and your own reflection that will come later on, that the Archdeacon will lead us to discuss.
Thank you, Daniel. I just want to share some of my own thoughts in terms of how we might go forward, just only briefly. And it's to say that, for me, quite a lot of the solution to the challenge that we face actually goes back to reminding ourselves of the creation story. Because in the creation story, we have that story of God creating human beings, Adam and Eve, from whom everybody else comes. And what we get from that, we get a couple of things. One is that sense that we are equal before God, but perhaps even most importantly, the sense that we have that common origin, that we are human beings together. We share a common humanity. The people who did the slavery and the slave trade, what they did was to actually separate human beings and make it sound like human beings come from different origins, and human beings are different. Make it sound like we don't have a common humanity. And part of the solution is reminding ourselves that that was a lie. That was something that was made up. And actually, if we continue to hold on to that common humanity, it will be a key part of the solution and a key part of how we get healing in going forward. So those are the thoughts from myself and my two fellow panelists. This is now the chance for you to share your reflections. We deliberately wanted this to be a space for as many people as possible to speak. We have a roving microphone so that you can speak and everybody would hear you. Do make it a little bit brief. Don't go on for too long so that we can fit in as many people as possible. So, questions or reflections from anyone? Okay.
I'd like to thank all the organisers of today. It's been very illuminating. Out of many voices, we can make one chant for freedom, for reconciliation, and for healing. And so I'd like to ask and hope that not only will we be inspired by what has happened here at the cathedral, that in each of our parishes we will be empowered to have those smaller discussions that lead to greater change, so that those people who are not here, those people who still feel that they're on the margins, will feel that their voices are being heard. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A reminder in Friday's Church Times that we are still climbing a mountain. The letters column included a letter that was clearly designed to undermine Project Spire and criticised Archbishop Sarah for a speech she'd made concerning the distribution of the Church Commissioner's money. Clearly there is an agenda at work there. But then, a little later in the paper, a review of the Turner Constable exhibition at the Tate Gallery. Fine review, scholarly, had a great deal to say, until I got to the penultimate paragraph, and if I may, the reviewer says, for once, the Tate catalogue and the notices on the wall are devoid of cant, and we're not constantly reminded of Turner's attempt to buy a slave farm in the West Indies and of where the privileged of the artist patrons made their money. Rather, in an understated way, the exhibition marks what is the very best in English art. It troubles me that the author of that review is actually a Church of England vicar. So simply to make the point that we have a great deal of work to do from this conference. Thank you.
Any more comments? Reflections?
Hello, my name is Vitalis. I am the Racial Justice Coordinator for the Diocese of Chichester. The Archbishop Sarah said that the Church cannot undo its history, but it can choose how to respond to it. Project Spire has been under a lot of backlash. And one of the things that I would like to propose is that there have been a gap in knowledge between the leadership of the Church and the parishioners. And I think going forward, it will be very important for us to educate parishioners as well as lay Christians on issues of Project Spire and how to stand up for it and defend it. Thank you.
That's a good point.
Thank you. My name is Saida Florian. I am a member of MOSAF on the educational side. I am from Deptford and I go to St. Nicholas Church. And I'm very proud of what Jane have done today. My question is, how do I tell a young person, please, I just need an example. How do I tell a young person that wants to know about slavery, the truth about slavery, without then having to carry the pain that goes with it? And the reason why I'm asking this is that because I need help educating one of my younger children about this.
Okay, thank you for that question. Daniel, do you want to respond?
As a church, and I am closely connected to Southwark Board of Education, Southwark Diocesan Board of Education. And I know that even as a Board of Education, one of the things that we have integrated into our educational delivery is sense of belonging. And we know that you cannot belong unless you know where we have come from and where we are going. So at the primary and secondary level, history and racial justice is at the very core of what we do. So where your child goes to school, first in the first place, ought to be a place that education that embraces British history in its broadest sense is delivered. So that is one. And then as a church, there was a question that was raised earlier on, that the parishes should be empowered. The parishes to be empowered so that they could discuss some of the things that we have learned here today. I should think that it should be within the power of our Sunday school teachers who are helping us to raise our young people in the Christian faith to be able to have a time within their Sunday schools, sometimes to have conversation around some of these topics that we are discussing in a very child-friendly way. And then lastly, as a family and as a community, a child in Africa, we say that it takes a whole village to raise a child. Raising a child is not only one person's responsibility, it's the whole village who raised a child. So I think learning about our community history, I went to the Kingston section and I walked from my house to Kingston and I love All Saints so much. But what I have learned from All Saints presentation today. I don't think any textbook could have told me that. So encouraging our young people to visit sites where people are allowed to share the stories of that place with them will be one way that you can tell a child about the history of our people. But most importantly, a story must be told with an aim. Are we telling these stories to make our children bitter? Or are we telling these stories so that our children will pursue truth, healing, and reconciliation? And that should be a question that should always be at our back of our mind. Why are we telling these stories? And what do we want to get out of it? Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. Friends, I want us to do something else, which is I want each person to talk to the person next to them, essentially addressing this question: how do we go forward from here? You can share with them how you intend to go forward from here today. So just chat with the person next to you. Okay. If you just finish in one more minute. 1 more minute. Okay, let's get back together. Where is he? Oh, I've got it. This is working. Is it not? I think so. We're going to. I think it's working. You can hear me, right? We're going to get back together. Right, thank you, friends. The buzz that I was hearing shows that people had a lot to share, which one would expect after a day like this. But let's spend a little bit of time just hearing some of the things that have come up in your conversation. So, how are people intending to take this forward? How do we intend to take things forward? Or what suggestions can people give? And we've got a microphone.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. We suggest that by taking this on, is retelling the story and make sure that, said, the Department of Education in the diocese tell the story to the children. If it can't be part of the curriculum, then they could do it after afternoon club, starting from there, and get people in to educate the children about their future and their past.
Thank you so much. Can I suggest if people want to make a contribution, that they say their name and which church or organization they've come from?
My name is Althea Smith. I'm from St. John's Peckham.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Angela Jacobs from St. Giles Church, Camberwell. The way forward is to extend it outside the church. Because if we are limited to church, there are so many people outside there. So we can reach out to non-governmental organizations, reach out to other society outside the church, and this will go a long way. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a hand up there. Yes.
First of all, I just want to again express, as do the brothers and sisters who are with me today, thank you to the church for opening up your doors and allowing us to have this conversation. I'd also like to add to that one of the things that we'd like to do as members of the Black community that have been talking about reparations for many years now is to remind, I'm actually from North London, and so Bernie Grant, as you know, was a trailblazer in reparations. So I'm going to take away from here my personal responsibility of writing to my MP David Lammy and ask him to support Operation Spires and get behind that 24/7, as well as continue to do the work that the brothers and sisters and I are responsible for, and that is to have the annual African Reparations Day March, again on the 1st of August here in Brixton. So everyone that's here, tell a friend to tell a friend, and if you can join us, join us. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Before you hand over the microphone, can you quickly tell us your name?
Segment Judah of Reparations, RTAG, Reparations to this African Generation.
Thank you.
That was founded without any financial support, something that we hope will change in the future because this work is very demanding. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Father Andrew, right at the back, I spotted your hand.
So the question is how to take things forward.
Andrew Mumby from St. Peter's, Walworth. We had a really fruitful conversation on the back of Father Daniel's comments about intergenerational trauma. And this isn't necessarily an action that we were going to take away ourselves, I have to say, but a question for us all to dream. what would it be like for our church, our diocese, to really think more about intergenerational trauma and healing and justice at all levels of church life, in our parishes, our schools, our diocese, among our clergy, and in our chaplaincies. And we thought we'd also love to hear a little bit more about intergenerational trauma. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think there are more hands up.
Yeah, spotted a hand. This is Suzanne.
Yeah, do tell us your name and where organization and so on.
I'm Suzanne from St Anne's, Bermondsey. I just wanted to say that Southwark Local Authority are introducing a Key Stage 3 resource called All Our Histories. It's an exhibition in a box. It's been piloted this year and it's exploring black history in Camberwell and Southwark and the legacy of slavery. And it's based through the powerful artwork of Sakari Douglas Camp, and there's lots of local research. So I suggest that if people want to explore that, or they should ask their kids, are you doing that in school? And asking the schools, actually, are you using this resource? Because it's there and it's available.
Thank you. Bishop, okay.
I've just wanted to let people know that that Southwark Diocese has also commissioned a Black History Walk in Croydon, and so during the year to come that walk will take place again. So if people are interested, please do get in touch with our racial justice team and they'll be able to at least give you the link to being able to join that walk.
Okay. I can only take 2 more comments.
I'll just add to that, Bishop, on the back page of your program booklet, may I draw your attention to page 15? We have put together a list of resources and links that relate to today that we'll hope will support you with taking this conversation forward. Please reach out to the diocesan racial justice team anytime. And of course, our local area racial justice groups, helmed by Reverend Mark Edmondson, Reverend Stanley Yoga, Reverend Cordella Dawson in Croydon, and Father Patrick in Woolwich would love to connect with you to support you in your local areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Just one more comment before I ask our panelists to give their final thoughts.
Hello everyone, nice to see you here. My name is Beverly Blake Walker and I'm from St Catherine's, Hatcham Church. And I was having a conversation with my partner, Abigail, and what we were speaking about is the way that we actually think about moving forward. Mm-hmm. Now, the reality is, I'm a black woman in this society. For me, colour doesn't matter. But what the problem actually is that my history is that I'm from a stolen generation that was taken from one place to the other. So that brings in a little bit of hurt, a little bit of fear, and a little bit of confusion because I most probably don't even have the right name because my foreparents had a slave master. Now, what I don't want to happen, you know, we are a church, and the church, we are pushing the love of God. So when we think about moving forward, I feel that if we need to deliver this new narrative to our young people, then the first thing that we need to do is we need to speak about love. We need to deliver it in a loving way, first and foremost. So we're not immediately generating hate because it can bring hate. And I remember when I first heard about the slave trade, I was really, really distressed. And my parents had not spoken to me about it. Later on, they did, which was quite difficult for them to even speak about because of the atrocities that had happened to us and our foreparents. So we kind of feel that maybe it's not necessarily the parents who need to be the first caregiver about this, but maybe, you know, the English people, the people of other from other places in the world are the ones that need to learn about our history, and then they can move forward with sharing and teaching the children this. I don't think anyone can do this work unless you really know the history of the things that have happened and you are able to deliver this with love. So I'm just hoping that people can take this back to their church. I'm a Sunday school teacher, so it's imperative for me to think about how I'm going to share this with our little people and our young people as well. So I wish you well in the journey of how we will do this together, and we can bring this back and each one teach one. So thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Now I'm going to ask my fellow panelists to give some of their final thoughts, beginning with Mark.
Thank you, Archdeacon Chigor. I'd just like to give a bit of Rowan Williams, which never goes amiss. He wrote a lovely little piece in lockdown after the Black Lives Matter movement and the toppling of Colston, and made the point how statuary sculpture can close conversations down. It's fixed. It doesn't necessarily invite stories, and this is the conclusion to his little thought. What matters is that we keep on telling the story and learning to retell it, making room for the voices we have silenced, thinking again about the patterns of power we have taken for granted, understanding that our flaws and sins mean that we shall never stop relearning and remaking the history of our world and our lives within it. Under the surface of power lies fragility and mortality. Under the reality of mortality and failure lies the light of grace. When we have stopped arguing about the rights and wrongs of statues, we still have to build the relations of justice, truthfulness, and compassion that will allow us to be both judged and renewed by that light. Thank you.
So let me begin with the intergenerational trauma that somebody asked a question that she would have loved to hear more about. The time is too short to say anything specific, but one of the opportunities that we have as people of God is our Eucharists. In our Eucharist, we say, though we are many, we are one body because we all share one bread. If one part of the body is wounded, then the whole body is not functioning properly. And in trauma, what we know is that what has not been named can never be tamed. So in our Eucharistic setting, in our liturgical expression, how do we give people the space to name their pain within the context of liturgy should be a significant part of our intergenerational healing. So that is the first thing. The second thing is what I said earlier on. With what intent do we pursue truth? Truth is very, very painful. And unless truth is recognized, healing is impossible. And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. It is the truth that set us free. So as we seek the truth, may we also seek the truth alongside grace. I'm always moved by John when he said, and full of truth and grace. God's truth and God's grace are always hand in hand. So in this journey, may we all go back seeking the truth, but allowing truth to walk hand in hand with God's grace. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel and Mark. Friends, I just want to reiterate a point that has already been made, which is how this is really a journey. So this is only a point in that journey, and I hope that all of us going away from here would hold that close to our hearts and continue to journey on. It's not an easy journey, but one which I hope we are all committed to. And of course, here in Southwark Diocese, one of the ways in which we journey is through our anti-racism charter. The anti-racism charter is a document that guides much of what we do in the whole area of racial justice. Those who don't know about it, I'm sure you can get it from our website if you want to see how that operates. Okay. I've just been told that there are copies at the back if anybody wants to pick that up. But it's been absolutely wonderful being able to reflect together, following all that we have heard about how to take things forward. I want to Okay. We are not losing any chance to promote our charter. Okay. First, we had this at the back. Now I've got it in my hands. So this is what it looks like. Do pick one up if it will be useful to you. But all that remains to say is to thank you for taking part. And I believe one of the bishops is now going to come to speak to the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our panelists. May I now invite Bishop Christopher to provide some closing comments before we close for the evening. Thank you.
Wazy, please do not disappear behind a pillar, but come back here and stand in the center. Today has sprung from our racial justice charter, which is a wonderful thing, and also the racial justice team. The anti-racism charter is pioneering work, really important, really has helped this diocese move forward. And Wazy, you have worked with a team preparing for today. And so if you represent the team and stand in the center, we will express our thanks to you. I'm very glad that Archbishop Sarah, at the beginning of her new role, has affirmed and expressed deep support for Project Spire. And I was very interested in the gentleman that was reading comments from the Church Times, because I'm always struck by the fact, as Daniel was saying, we will not like everything that we hear. Today has been about truth-telling, and the beauty of this session is that it has been about storytelling. It does seem that truth-telling must involve our storytelling. Some of the things we hear, which are about perception, are real for the people who are saying them, but they are simply not true in a wider context. And it is not truth-telling, it is perception-telling. And I'm always struck by the words of W.H. Auden. I just want to repeat them in a poem in which he called this poem Words. A sentence uttered makes a world appear where all things happen as it says they do. How often are we, in listening to something, that those words I think are very powerful. A sentence uttered can make a world appear where all things happen as it says they do. We do have to use our critical faculties to decide if something is true or false, or mistaken, or misguided, or in need of a challenge or a response. And the poem goes on, we doubt the hearer, not the words we hear. Words have no words for words that are not true. And I think there is a deep truth in that. So my friends, as we prepare now to move into worship and fellowship, we are mindful that our worship, our liturgy, is one of the places, in fact, the most significant place where we not only can tell the truth, but we are living and modeling the truth. And I pray that what we have heard and experienced and participated in today will be offered up in our worship and will shape the way we joyfully now worship together. And before we close, I just want to affirm some of the things that were said, the importance of the Anti-Racism Charter. I ask you to give your active support to our racial justice team in the diocese. And as Archdeacon Muchiga was saying, this is a journey we are on. It is an irreversible journey, but it is a journey with a long way to go. Would you stand for a blessing? May God the Father, who made from one every nation that occupies the earth, may God the Son, who bought us for God from every tribe and language and people and nation, may God the Spirit, who brings us together in unity and hope, be with you, sustain you, and guide you in these days ahead. Amen.
Thank you very much, Bishop Christopher. Friends, we have now come to the end of this segment of Sacred Stories in the Spaces. Now, we would be very grateful for your feedback on the day. To anyone who's able to complete a feedback form or to scan this QR code, which leads you to the diocesan webpage and resources and links that I mentioned earlier. To allow time for our choir to prepare for Choral Eucharist, we would like to ask everyone to step outside for around 15 minutes. Please pick up your copy of the refreshed Anti-Racism Charter at the back of the cathedral. You're welcome to still view the exhibition in the South Transept, and that will stay in the South Transept for the next week. So please bring your parishes, bring your children, and come and engage with the exhibition. If you're staying on, you're very welcome either in the cafe or in the Susanna Barfoot room in the basement, as we know it's cold outside. Please return to the nave to be seated for Choral Eucharist by 5:15. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you in a few minutes. Thank you.